create awareness, particularly about important topic, which is most of the time overlooked also. Genetically inherited cancers, recurrence, risk, that is what is eye-catching for me as a geneticist. And I thank Dr. Yamini who has set this platform for me. She has given a wonderful introduction. So next 10 minutes I'll be talking about the recurrence, risk prediction, preventive strategies in genetically inherited cancers. So why genetic testing for cancers? From the previous speaker, we have learned that most of the cancers are non-hereditary, but again, 8 to 10% of the cancers can be hereditary. My focus is on this group. Screening for risk is important for providing specialized medical management and also risk prevention measures. How? For this particular patient, if he is predisposed to a cancer, he may be predisposed to another cancer because of the genetic predisposition. How am I going to look into it? How to follow up this patient? And how am I going to prevent the same cancer which is running in the family for his sibling or his or her offspring? Genetic testing followed by screening of at-risk family members has become need of the hour to do early surveillance, pick up early cancers, and treat them in a better way. Cancer is a genetic disease, whether it is hereditary or non-hereditary. Hereditary means the genetic predisposition is in the genes. But again, non-hereditary cancers are also genetic because all the genetic mutations happens in the cells, somatic region. So this is somatic cells. They have this mutation which is called a cancer. A cell grows because of a genetic symbol, a signal. Each gene gives signals to cells to grow. Same way, unregulated proliferation, unregulated growth of cells is also because of a genetic mutation. So cell division and cell death are governed by several genes. If these genes are not intact, there can be cancer. So cancer causing genes, we have three types: oncogenes, which predisposes a person; tumor suppressive genes, their role is to suppress the tumor. If they are malfunctional, they cannot suppress the tumor. DNA repair genes help to repair the DNAs often so that they won't go in for cancer cells. So somatic cell mutations, 90 to 95%, that happens only for that individual, and germline mutations, that is 5 to 10%, these are hereditary cancers. This can happen to that particular person, his sibling, or his or her offspring also. Who should be tested for inherited cancer? Dr. Yamini has given a nice introduction about it. Features suggestive of any neurocutaneous neurological symptoms associated with childhood cancers, which is called hereditary cancer syndrome, or familial cluster of cancers. Plenty of cancers in the family pedigree. Breast, ovarian cancers, pancreatic cancers, rare cancers, early onset cancers, some rare cancers like male breast cancer. So see, these are commonly termed as possibly into hereditary cancers. Whom should we test? Early onset colorectal cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasias, prostate cancer with Gleason score of 7, multiple primary cancers in one individual. So in general, any signs and symptoms of a hereditary cancer syndrome, familial cancers, clustering of cancers, several first or second degree relatives with common cancer or related cancers, two family members, same rare cancer. So early age of onset, bilateral multifocal tumors, two different systems, cancer in same individual. Otherwise, features suggestive of any cancer syndrome like Peutz-Jeghers or Capillary neurofibroma. I'll go to the case scenario. This is a child, 8 years old, was born to third degree consanguineous parents. Her elder sibling had similar history like her, but died at 6 years of age because of unknown reasons. This child had skin lesions. I've exposed her eyes because to know that the photophobia, keratitis she has got, and hyperpigmentations she had, no neurological manifestations. Clinically, we know that this is a case of xeroderma pigmentosa. So we did a mutation analysis. We found an abnormality in the genetic abnormality which has been found out. So we know the diagnosis. We can manage the child better. Look for all the complications of xeroderma pigmentosum in this child in future. And also, this has record in the family. We shouldn't forget. The previous child had, and this child again had. This mother is planning for next pregnancy. What should I do is, I will try to find out whether the fetus inside has the same mutation or not. Xeroderma pigmentosum in this family inherited as autosomal recessive, it can have 25% recurrences. What is my duty is to find out whether the baby is into the 25% category or in the 75% category that is normal. So once we find out in utero by chorionic villus sampling or amniocentesis doing the same mutation in the baby, then we can predict the recurrences, tell the family that look, this baby is affected or this baby is unaffected. Let the family decide whether to continue that pregnancy or not. This is how you filter deadly diseases like xeroderma cold, who presented with an ongoing pregnancy of 10 weeks. But again, think of it, 23 years old mother who had multiple caphylolate spots. She had swellings from early childhood like this and not evaluated genetically. Suddenly, she became pregnant. She was referred immediately for hereditary abnormalities. So this is a neurofibroma, and we know that this neurofibroma is autosomal dominant. This can have 50% recurrences in next pregnancy, and she has a 10 weeks fetus inside. We have to test that fetus. What we have to do first is look for the mutation in the mother. We did the same. We found out a pathogenic mutation in NF1 neurofibroma gene, and the same was looked into the fetus. Fetus was tested negative for this. We reassured the family. So if in case if the fetus is affected, we have to inform the family that this baby has got this abnormality. What are all the clinical features you expect postnatally, and let the family decide whether to continue the pregnancy or not. So same way, this is a child with neuroregression, was normal till 6 years, had seizures, deficient now. She had Ashleigh macules and tumors in the brain. This is tuberous sclerosis. This is again an autosomal dominant condition. Mother came with an ongoing pregnancy. We tested the first child. We found out the mutation. The same mutation was tested in the mother, the fetus, and the fetus was normal. Hence, the recurrence, we said it is not. If it is a recurrence, they have to decide what has to be done. Another child, 3 years old, born to non-consanguineous couple. This child was diagnosed as by having bilateral retinoblastoma at 6 months of age. Now the child is presented as 3 years, unevaluated, mother with an ongoing pregnancy of 6 weeks. No genetic analysis is done. Recurrences, obviously, bilateral retinoblastoma, we know it has become hereditary now. So it is not unilateral retinoblastoma, it is bilateral. We know there is a high chance that this baby should have got a hereditary cancer predisposition. What we did was, we did the mutation analysis, so that we found a mutation in the RB1 gene. Parents were tested and they were not carriers. Germline mosaicism can be found in RB1 gene. Hence, we have explained all this to the family. They went ahead and did testing for the fetus, and fetus was fortunately found to be negative of that mutation. So this pregnancy was continued, and the child was kept under, the index child was kept under regular surveillance. But look at this, they presented at 6 weeks of pregnancy. We had only 10 weeks to do all these, because 16 weeks we have to take amniocentesis and do fetal testing. So 10 weeks we have to do the index child evaluation, parental screening, do so much of counseling. It becomes like an ICU status. If in case if the family is planning pregnancy, advise them not to proceed before doing genetic analysis in an index child. Another family, 42 years old mother, I was called to see the family because from an infertility consultant, she conceived by donor ovum because she had bilateral breast cancer. She underwent bilateral mastectomy. The obstetrician said there can be a chance of cancer, and you are 42 years old. They went for infertility treatment, conceived by donor ovum, but family were worried about susceptibility of cancer in the baby because they've lost 2 children because of the central nervous system tumor. So 17 years old boy, 10 years old boy was born to this mother who had bilateral breast cancer and died because of brain tumors. And they've done a donor ovum program, but this baby, they are worried. What I was worried is, though this donor ovum is used for this pregnancy, the mother is married consanguineously. That is, this mother is married to this person who is her maternal uncle. We may not know what this person is, whether this person is a silent carrier of the abnormality or not. They have taken the risk of the mother by donor ovum, but again the sperm, if it is a silent carrier, the newborn can be affected. So how to start with the evaluation is to test the mother for genetic mutations, and then we did the same. We found out TP53 mutation, Lee-Fraumeni syndrome. What next I have to do is I have to check whether this person is carrying the same mutation in a silent form or not. And we did the same, and he was found to be normal. Once this is done, then the fetus becomes, the newborn becomes safe because he is not a carrier, mother is a carrier, her ovum is not used. This is how we evaluate a family with a genetic abnormality. Lee-Fraumeni syndrome is a dreaded disease which can cause any system cancer, and particularly in pediatric age group. Hence, we wanted to prevent it, and luckily that baby was safe. This is how we evaluate a family with a predisposed to hereditary cancer. What are the guidelines for genetic testing? Mutation detection should be done basically, ideally, from a person who's affected. That is where you can gain enough mutation from the affected person. The result of the test should aid at the diagnosis or modify the management. Children should be tested only if the malignancy develops in childhood and if the testing helps in improving the outcome by early diagnosis or modification of management. So physicians should inform about the risks and benefit of carrier detection. You should not put the person into so much of agony. They will know that they are carriers, they are predisposed to cancer. They may not know when the cancer is going to happen. But this has to be told to them. Once we identify, we will be put into surveillance so that we will make sure you are doing fine, and if any signs of early cancer arises, we'll treat you appropriately. This gives so much of comfort to the family when they identify a mutation and they are found to be carriers. Information about early detection of cancers, preventive management modalities should be provided. This will definitely give so much of booster to their them psychologically once we found out a carrier status also. The limitation of the test should be explained before they are carried out. Once it is found out, some new variants can pop up. We may not know the importance of it. All these has to be explained to them. And breast cancer genes, very, very notorious to cause hereditary cancers. And in India, about 70% BRCA1 and about 20%, 40 to 70% is in BRCA2 mutations. So if we find out these mutations, the surveillance also can be very, very effective for this particular patient. So disease management, once you have identified a mutation, you know at-risk siblings who are all at risk, and you have mapped their genes also, and you have found so-and-so is normal, so-and-so is a carrier, he is at a risk. So put all the persons who are at risk for predisposed cancer into surveillance and who are all not carrying the disease, you can reassure them completely. So prenatal testing by chorionic villus sampling or amniocentesis can be done if the familial mutation is identified. You will come to know about the fetus, whether the baby is affected or not, by doing this prenatal testing. Thereby, you can make sure the family, that there is no recurrence in the family. Therapeutic indication, therapeutic options we get are for breast cancers, treatment options are there. If in case ovarian cancer is suspected or it is expected, you can do oophorectomy. They can go for even bilateral mastectomy also to reduce the cancer risk. So same way, many surgical options are there to avoid further risk of cancers. So surveillance is by genetic not carrying, reassure them, who is carrying, put them under regular surveillance. What do we do in our clinic is patient evaluation, get all the details possible, get all the signs and symptoms of predisposed cancer, counsel them regarding the testing options, review the reports, do the risk assessment, and test for at-risk family members, plan strategies for prevention and early identification, and give anticipatory guidance. Most importantly, we do the prenatal diagnosis to identify the recurrence in the future offsprings. Thank you so much.